I'm David Griffin. It's the 26th of February 2018. I'm here at Derby and I'm talking to
Jason Fage.
Jason, thanks very much for joining us as part of this heritage project. You've been a supporter of Derbyshire for a long time. You've been on the board of directors for 4 years now. But can I just take you right back to your very first interest or involvement in the game of cricket? When was that?
Well, I always liked cricket at school. The problem I had is I went to New Mills Grammar School that was predominantly rugby. So we played a lot of rugby, and it had an AstroTurf cricket pitch. So we were lucky if we got 1 or 2 games of cricket towards the back end of the school term. But then we all went away, and the cricket season actually began. So I started it at school, but as regards Derbyshire, living in the north of the county, it was very much taken to Buxton to watch Derbyshire play at Buxton, and also Chesterfield on a Sunday afternoon. So,
Can you remember your first game?
I don't think I can, to be honest. No, I remember going to Buxton when it snowed.
Right.
That game, but I can't actually remember my first game. I wouldn't have to pin it down to when it was. I remember going to Chesterfield with chickenpox one Sunday. That was fun, and sat next to the shop and Pat, and she was looking after me, and I got dumped there. But no, so I've got many happy memories. But yeah, first game, couldn't actually say what it was.
Were you playing cricket at that time, or was your interest just in watching the game?
I was playing. I was active playing cricket. I did my bio on the website a couple of months ago, and actually when I went to play at Dove Holes as a junior, I was coached for a little while by David Milner.
Oh right, yeah.
Ex-Derbyshire player. I actually lived in Chapel Henley Frith and grew up as a boy. I don't know how I ended up going to play at Dove Holes. I think it was because David Milner actually lived literally on the same estate nearly as Mum and Dad, so I ended up getting hauled up to Dove Holes, which is an interesting place to play cricket, even at the best of times. Mid-August in Dove Holes it can be a cold place. But I remember going there, played at school.
Batsman or bowler?
Oh, batsman, boycott.
Right.
Yeah.
Obdurate.
Yeah, I mean, just moving on a little bit, I played it with the Belper, they weren't called Belper amateurs, they were the old Belper guys, and we played on a Wednesday night, and it was 2020 cricket, even way back then, 25 years ago. And I remember we got taken down to Cromford Meadows.
Yeah. To
play in a charity match, and they let us have a 40-over game, which was great for me because I just blocked it for 40 overs. I think I scored 40 runs, and I was quite happily walking off holding the bat up at the end. But yeah, batsman, never a bowler.
And what level was that at? That's presumably in the league. You were playing league cricket?
I did play a bit of league cricket in Sheffield. It was about Division F or G, something now. We played for a team called Sheffield Waterworks. But there were that many leagues in Sheffield. Once you get down, past the first 3 or 4, the standard's still quite good. There were still Pakistani opening bowlers coming steaming in from one end, but it was never to a great. The problem I had was I moved away when I was 18, went to live in Bristol for a couple of years, worked down there. So it wasn't until sort of I came back in my early 20s that I got back into watching Derbyshire and joining as a proper member. So I missed a bit, of playing, that I probably would have had if I'd stayed around in the local area.
I know you said you couldn't remember or pinpoint the very first game, but what's the first team you remember of Derbyshire, the star players or your favourite players?
Yeah, obviously Jeff Miller, Bob Taylor were in the team when I was young. They were going back, to the ones that I'd remember as being the early days. The team that I sort of have most affinity to would be the Barnet Bowler, Maurice Adams era. That sort of one was in 92, 93 sort of time. That's been when I would really sort of the ones I can, take most memory from and most enjoyment as well.
We were a little bit spoiled, I think, by that era because there were A, we won trophies, but B, there were some remarkable bowlers and batsmen. Did you have favourite players in that early 90s?
Yeah, Johnny and Chris are my favourite players. Yeah. We used to, even when Chris left and John left, we used to go and watch them, play for whoever else they played for when Derbyshire weren't playing, because they were, players that you pay money to go and watch, and that's what we did. They were great.
You became obviously a fan of Derbyshire and a member of Derbyshire and travelled around watching Derbyshire. Did that compromise your playing, or had you made a conscious decision to play less or not at all so that you could watch cricket?
I think it probably did, you know, and it probably did compromise the playing a little bit. Plus the fact that I'd moved around, you know, I was born and bred in Chapel Frith. I moved to Bristol, and when I came back to the area, I went to live in Belper. So I was moving around all the time, so you didn't get an affinity to play for one club. I suppose I could have travelled and played, but you lost that, you know, that bit of your youth when you would have been going through the ranks and building up into getting your place in a team, don't you? So I probably missed that out, and that's why I ended up playing at Belper with my mate Richard, and we just played quite regularly on a Wednesday night, which was just a bit of fun, really, which was good then.
So you talked about the early 90s, that Barnet, Bowler, Morris, Adams, the top four, they roll off the tongue, don't they? So presumably you saw the 90. Do you see the 1990 Sunday League win, the 93 Benson's wins? I
was away for the 1990. Right. I was away in Bristol then, so I missed that. But the 93 was the one that because remember, I say it's 25 years ago, more or less to the month, since I joined in the exec club. Right. When I came back to the area, I thought, right, okay, I'll rejoin my membership. I'll do it. I remember coming in one day and Pat was in the shop. She said, "Oh, just come upstairs. Devon's upstairs." I thought, "Okay, fair enough, great, you know." So she said, and I joined as an exec member that day, and I remember going back to see my mate Richard. I said, "Come on, mate, you've got to join now. You've been a member before. You get your money in your hand in your pocket, or etc." I said, "We're going to win something this year." And of course, he said, "Nah, don't be silly." He said, "We're Derbyshire." I said, "No, let's get behind it, you know." And lo and behold, 3 months later, there we were at Lords. So that was great.
Where did you sit?
Compton Upper at Lords. Was it Compton Upper? I think it was. It was one of
the
ones.
Pavilion, yeah. Opposite
the pavilion, left-hand side, whatever. That's Compton, I think, isn't it? Wherever we all were, yeah. But we had a few stories because we missed the end, of course.
Did you?
Yeah, we did.
When it rained?
Yeah, because we went down. There was about 6 of us all went down together, and 2 of the guys had to get back because it went on later than we expected. So when it rained, we were forced to leave. So we ended up listening to the end. Listening to the final over in the services at Watford Gap, finishing the remnants of the picnic off and whatever else we had.
Well, you mentioned Barnet, Bowler, Morris, Adams. Of course, they'd all gone at 66 for 4 after an hour. What were you sitting there with your mates in the Compton stand? Do you think it was all over at that point?
Oh yeah, of course you do. But you always had that hope because there was that one bloke, wasn't there? That was, even though he was young in those days, you always thought, well, if Cork can do something, you know. But we didn't anticipate getting as far as we did, you know. But yeah, we were beside yourself, and you just thought, this is it. We've come all this way. This is probably our one chance. The one chance we'll get to come to Lords, and it's all going to end in tears. But happily, it didn't.
Yeah, I mean, one of the great innings in Lords final, really. I think, and he was only 21, quite remarkable, really. So you got your Derbyshire watching career, your adult career off to a really good start then. And I know you were often seen at away grounds. So it always surprises me that with cricket that so few proportionately of the members and the supporters ever travel to away games. And I've always found it such a joy. You obviously at an early stage in your cricket watching life decided you wanted to watch cricket away from home. Why was that?
I just loved going to different grounds, you know, seeing how different grounds looked. I lived in Bristol for 2 years, and I went to Bristol quite regularly to watch John play. Watch Sunday cricket at Bristol, which was great. So I got the bug of just going around these other grounds. And obviously I love the out grounds as well. Living in that part of the world, Weston-super-Mare, Bath, they were great places to go on a Sunday. So you get the bug for it, and then as soon as you come back, yes, you want to watch Derbyshire wherever you can get your fix, really.
So in that era, the 90s, I'm thinking of particularly now, your favourite grounds? Places you like to go most of all?
Ooh, that's a good one. I mean, I always liked Worcester. That was great. And like I say, even when when past players like Johnny Morris and Chris Adams went to play at other counties, we always had maybe a trip to Worcester to watch Sussex or Notts play there. That was great. I mean, Worcester was great. I mean, I wouldn't say they've spoiled some of these grounds now. It would be unfair because times move on, don't they? And, you know, we do the same here. We've developed the 3A county ground, but you remember Worcester in the old days and the pavilion and the scampi and chips and the chicken and chips and in the pavilion, and they were the good times, weren't they?
Absolutely. Canterbury, I remember seeing you on the boundary once at Canterbury, so I know you've been there a few times, sitting with your wife in your chairs with your picnic and whatever.
Yeah, we always like to do Canterbury. Canterbury is another favourite, yeah, I must admit. It was a long way to go, isn't it? But it's one of the, you know, when you're young and you're growing up and you see all these places on the telly on a Sunday afternoon, they seem that far away, don't they? But you know, now when you're older and you've got the wheels and you've got the, you know, the will to go to these places, they're not as far as you think.
No.
In the old days, it seemed like Canterbury was the other end of the world. But yeah, Canterbury's a nice place. Love Canterbury. We always try and go each year when we can.
And what's your favourite test grounds? I mean, Lord's generally stands out, but aside from Lord's,
yeah, Lord's Trent Bridge is the other one really. You know, I did have a spell of having a membership at Notts just for Test match cricket. So
you're not the only one. I think plenty of people have done that.
Yeah, because it was great, and luckily we saw the, you know, Rachel and I saw 2005, so that was great.
Oh really?
So all 5 days. So yeah, wonderful.
There was a little story about that. Derbyshire at the time played against Yorkshire at Scarborough, and something quite unique I've never seen in the game before was when the winning run, was it Ashley Giles at Trent Bridge or Hoggard? They were batting together.
Yeah.
The entire ground at Scarborough stood up and applauded the winning run at a ground 200 miles away, and the game stopped. It was a 50 over game up at Scarborough. Never seen anything like it.
I was very lucky that I've actually went to part of each of the 5 Test matches.
Did you really?
Only by chance. I mean, I think the last one at the Oval, I think I got a corporate day because somebody didn't want it. But that was the Saturday, so I went to that. But yeah, I did all Trent Bridge, every one, and it was even to the point where on the Edgbaston game, I think we're right in saying we got tickets for the 4th day for the Edgbaston game, Rachel and I, and of course we were sat at Chesterfield, I think, watching Derbyshire on the Saturday, and it looked like at one point it looked like England were going to win in 3 days. But it meant out, and in the end we could have been sat at Edgbaston just for 10 minutes. That's, you know, 2 balls, but it went on and on and on until about 12:30, and I think we then came back to watch Derbyshire play in a Sunday League game in the afternoon. So we did two grounds in 2 days and 2 matches. And we watched England win in Ashes, which was great.
Well, it's interesting you mentioned Australia there, because of course after the '93 Benson's final, we had another 2 years, I think, of Kim's captaincy, and then of course in Australia, a very robust, extremely talented and tough Australian, Dean Jones, came in. What do you remember of the 18 months, 2 years that Jones had as captain?
Yeah, I mean, there were good times until the end, weren't they? You know, it all seemed to end very abruptly. I mean, we were very close that first year, weren't we? You probably know better than me. We could have
second in '96.
Second in '96, we could have won that championship. You know, by then I'd met Rachel, and Dean Jones was one of Rachel's favourites. I remember I was out working the day that the news broke that he was leaving, you know, and it was like, oh crikey, what's happening now? You know, we're back to where we were with Derbyshire from the good old days, from combusting and what have you. But yeah, it was good while it lasted, wasn't it? But that '96 was I think was the closest we'll get for some time, really.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, I've always felt that, and it's easy for us non-cricketers to say this, but I felt we didn't have a spinner, did we? A really top-class spinner. Yeah. I think Miller at his best in that team of the '90s would probably have won the championship, but we just lacked that quality spinner. So then we come into the 21st century, and of course the game changed because we went to 2 divisions, and we didn't play at Chesterfield for a while either, did we?
No.
Did you lament the loss of Chesterfield for those few years that we were away?
Very much so, yeah. You know, I'd love that we played at Chesterfield until the day I'm dying, you know, because that's a fantastic ground. And when you hear the likes of Tendulkar and Dickie Bird saying it's one of their favourite grounds, you know that it is a special place. And it's like anything, isn't it? It's on your doorstep. Sometimes you don't appreciate it as much, but we really should as a club. Now, who knows where the future is going to take us with cricket, you know, and big discussions that are going on at the moment, and will we have enough cricket to actually take to Chesterfield? Which is why I'll always go on a Saturday afternoon and sit and watch Chesterfield Cricket Club play cricket whenever I can, because just got to get your fix of the place. It's fantastic while you can enjoy it. Yeah,
it's a lovely place for cricketers to play league cricket. Are you involved at Chesterfield Cricket Club, or you just go as a supporter?
No. Time wouldn't allow that. You know, I spend most of the time here as well. But no, you know, who knows what might happen in the future. But you know, I'm a keen supporter. You know, I support the cricket lovers. I support Chesterfield Cricket Club as much as I can, you know, and always from this part of where I sit at the moment, try and make sure there's a link between the two.
And into the 21st century, the cricket it's been up and down. I think both of us have watched most of it for the last sort of 17 years. There have been some highs, more lows, I suppose. But what's your overall assessment of the last sort of 10, 15 years of Derbyshire on the field?
Yeah, I think we've kind of flattered to deceive some years, haven't we? You know, we are where we are, and it's good that sometimes we don't look too far ahead of ourselves, and we've got to appreciate that in the last 5 years we've actually had some top class quality overseas players. Unfortunately, they may not have performed for us on the stage that we wanted them to, but we've still been able to attract them, and it's getting that right balance. It's with anything, isn't it? You know, it's like last year. Who could have predicted we'd have got to the quarterfinals? You know, we brought John in, and you know, it was great. But you can never sort of work out which 11 guys are going to turn up on the park. And quite often in a competition, we've got 3 competitions that we play in, but you just need to get that settled 11 that all play together and all play to their best of their abilities for 6 weeks of the summer, and who knows, you can be you can win something. You know.
How much of a challenge is it with overseas? Because you back in the day, you kind of had an overseas player and you grew to know them and they stayed with the club. And I mean, it is quite hit and miss, isn't it? You can bring someone who's really got a great record, but if they're only here for, I think Chris Harris was the first one, the New Zealander, about 15 years ago. He came in for 4 games. And you think, how can you impact on a game of cricket when you're only there for 4 days? So that must be a challenge.
It is, yeah.
Even with big names.
Yeah, and again, we've got to accept where we are in the pecking order sometimes. We're not going to attract, you know, probably the 2 or 3 high quality players. What we probably need is someone that's hungry and needs to improve himself, a bit like Guptill was when he came at the time. Not many people had heard of Martin Guptill when he came to Derbyshire. And within 6 weeks, he got us top of the Division 2 Championship table, and we were flying. And even though he had to leave, the job was done, and we could do with something like that. And hopefully, you know, Dwayne Olivier, however you say his name, is that man. He'll come in and do the same from a bowling point of view.
Who have been the standouts? You mentioned Guptill, I'm sure he'd be on. Who've been the standouts for you in the last decade or so?
A bit longer now. Azharuddin was good, wasn't he? Going back a little bit. You know, that was probably the best one. And then Guptill.
We had a run of Australians, didn't we, with Rogers and Katic.
Rogers was good, you know, and the proof of Rogers is obviously he went to other counties and did it as well. You know, the likes of Middlesex and Somerset in the end, didn't he? So, you know, the likes of that's proof of the pudding. I mean, probably one of the unsung heroes as well after Guptill was Khawaja.
Absolutely.
Because you wouldn't have known what Khawaja was. Again, another guy that no one had ever heard of, was looking to prove himself and finish the job off for us, and now he's got himself firmly embodied in the Australian team.
We just help them to improve before they go and play.
That's probably where we are, and again, you know, we all love to sign, you know, that sort of gun batsman or that quality player, but we've probably got to dig along under the surface a little bit, and obviously that's what the experts try and do. But you know, just to find a little nugget that's gonna perform for us.
Well, we're going to call a halt there because I want to talk to you in a moment about your role off the field in an administrative management capacity. But for the moment, Jason, thank you very much.
Thank you.